Hello everyone, and welcome on in to the Games Done Quick Hotfix, and welcome to Out of the Box on this, the final day of the year 2025. It's been an interesting one. I know it's been difficult at times, but I hope there's been good times too. We're going to have a show this evening with some fantastic games from 2025, and on Out of the Box, what I'd like to do is kind of simulate the experience of going through the year. First, we're going to take a look back, kind of go on a voyage through a very charming adventure called Lego Voyagers with our friend Sonic 7. And then we're going to charge ahead into the new year fearlessly with Hades 2 on a fresh file showcase with Mininet. So without further ado, let's build something one last time in 2025 to remember together. It's an any percent solo run of Lego Voyagers with Sonic 7.
Alrighty. So this is gonna be Lego Voyagers any percent. I'm gonna be playing both players on two different controllers, keyboard and controller. With me I've got my commentator Carcoon. Carcoon, you wanna introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Carcoon. I'm also a runner of this game, and I'll be helping Sonic commentate this run.
Yeah. Alright, so we can go ahead and get started. I'll give you a countdown for time. 3, 2, 1, start.
Good luck and have fun.
Thank you. This game is very unique because it's one of the Lego games that isn't based off of like an IP or like its own thing. So we've got these two little dudes, blue and red. I don't know if that's their names, but I'm pretty sure it's fitting for them. So you'll notice as I said, I'm controlling both players. That's kind of a big thing in a lot of Lego games for speedrunning is you can kind of do twice as much with both if you use both players. So I've got my left hand on my keyboard on WASD, and I've got my right hand with my pointer finger on the left stick and my pinky on the buttons, primarily. And so that's how
many Lego games are what you might affectionately call co-optional, where co-op is faster in speedrunning context because you can have a second person join you. Voyagers is intended to be played as a co-op experience, which is to say there is no single player mode unless you are Sonic 7 and choose to make one for yourself.
Exactly. So here we're going to see kind of the intro of the game. There's not as much to explain here because kind of just get to see how we start. So the whole story behind this game is there's these two dudes and they live on this island and then they see like a cool rocket launch and they want to go to space. And so they go on this big adventure to try and go to space.
You know, I never really like boil it down, but this literally is if two Lego bricks were the space square from Portal, isn't it?
Literally, yeah. Like they're obsessed with one thing, and that one thing is space.
It's true.
Pretty much hit the nail on the head.
But yeah, I would say this kind of does as a game what movies as far back as like Fantastic Mr. Fox or like Spider-Verse, to give something more recent, do. It kind of pieces together a number of different visual styles. There's these really like enjoyable touches in design with like you saw the rocket kind of take off with like a different animation style than everything else you've seen in the game so far. And there's all these sorts of touches like that. Like you could see I don't know how well it translates across to the Twitch stream, but this is also very much an RTX showcase title, which is funny because Lego bricks aren't inherently reflective, but they really do a lot of work. Right, yeah. No, this team did a ton of work to build an inviting world for you to play around in with a co-op partner.
Yeah, so I'll let Carcoon explain kind of what's going on here to start.
So what Sonic is doing right now is he's boosting his other player up by sort of jumping onto them. And what he just did was also latch onto the other player, since that is a mechanic that you can use. And by going out of bounds here, he's able to jump on top of this rocket collision. And he's also going to be going far enough with the red player to be able to respawn his blue player closer to the red, so that it doesn't have to do the jump twice. And that skips a pretty big section with platforming.
It's slightly slower to do that respawn warp strat with player 2, but judging that this is solo, I'm not comfortable enough with the movement to do it with both players. If you're doing a co-op run, you might would do that. Which I'd say that's where this game kind of shines speedrun wise. Is like with a lot of other games, co-op I would say is harder once you get 1P2C down, because like you have two different people who like are thinking different things and they have to like coordinate with each other. With this game, that's still the case, but there's so much more complexity to having to be controlling both players the entire time rather than being able to drop players out, that being able to do a lot of the movement as these Lego blocks, like with another player, just makes it so much faster and easier.
Yeah, we were talking while we were setting up that in a fashion, this is almost being able to do a 1P2C run, unlike 2P1C, where it's all about reading the other person's intentions and having that muscle memory down. This is almost kind of more like knowing how to play a piano or a drum kit, where you're teaching your body to like do different actions in different parts in time with each other.
Right. Here we're doing another player boost, and a cling warp. I messed that one up there. These are pretty common throughout the game for the speedrun because you can kind of just like climb really high with them. Like there's a lot of sections we can just skip because we're able to do this. Like I don't think it's intended for you to have so much range on the cling or for it to warp the other player, but it's something that can happen. Another thing we forgot to mention right at the start is you can actually skip the first island, like the entire like 2 minutes of it or whatever. There's a way you can control both players to where you can just get infinite height or infinite distance through water. And the reason I didn't go for that is I don't understand how it works yet. And so I kind of just mash. And that's the agreed upon method so far. And I didn't think that'd be a great way to start because it's also just a big reset point.
Fair.
But in theory, you
that
could
is
save
the
like a
nature
minute
of
and a
runs
half.
that are, of games that are new. The runs are still developing. That's why games
Exactly.
often come back, 2, 3, 4, 5 years after their first appearances in no reset showcases to see how the community has developed the tricks to the utmost.
Yeah. Karkin, do you want to explain what's happening here as I'm doing it? Because I kind of need to focus on this part.
Sure thing. So we still have a bunch of these wall climbs and latches. And what Sonic is going to do up here is something called Great Skip. Normally you're supposed to fall down that hole and go through a long section of climbing up this mountain. But if you jump off this grate, you can actually latch onto the brick there and skip that entire section. But since we have to get our other player over as well, he's going to be making his
Right.
way over with Blue first.
Ignore the
And
fact that
after
I'm
that-
following.
Yeah. It's going to be pretty tricky. But what he's going to do now is he's going to abuse the respawn mechanic. And by getting Red to latch onto Blue here, he should be able to get Red over to where Blue is on the cliff there.
If I can actually get the... There we go.
Very nice.
Do a little bit of
That's-
synchronized swimming. Very
Pretty
nicely
much,
done.
yeah. That's our first instance of a respawn warp. There will be a lot more of those later, but that's another way we can abuse the game's mechanics to be able to get farther ahead. Here we're taking a better line by clinging onto that Lego object. Another one of these sections where I'm doing movements and jumps with both players. It's kind of tough because like if I fall with any of the players, it just will mess up my whole rhythm. And I'll essentially just get one player across and then do it with the other player after that, which is tougher or slower. I mean, even though it would be easier. Here's another section that has a skip that we don't do. Over there on the right, there's one of those like spinny things that I just went across. One of these platforms. There's one that breaks when you try and go across it. It's kind of like oh, you can't go this way. And there's a way to get across still, but it's a very precise jump that only saves about 10 seconds. And you'd have to do it with both players, so it's not really worth it. Here we've got another section where I'm going to introduce a new piece of tech. Well, it's very similar to what I've been doing, but it's using one of these Lego blocks. I'll let Cartoon explain.
Sure thing. So normally you're supposed to weigh down the hanging platform there, like you might see to the left. But something that Sonic's going to do here is he's going to boost his player up. And much like with the extended clings or grabs that he's doing, he's going to be able to grab blue from underneath and phasing through the floor there. Very nice application of it.
That's another thing we'll see is just going through certain objects sometimes. That's a good example of me messing up. Now I have to do it separate. And that height moves. There we go. There's another strat here that's done in co-op that I don't do. I think you and your co-op partner do it, right, Carcoon?
We used to, yes, but we don't anymore. Essentially, you can skip knocking that pillar down and get a jump off midair, but I'm not entirely sure how that works.
Yeah. That's another one of those strats that are not exactly worth it yet for 1P2C. Like, there's so much stuff that isn't done in solo. Well, not like a ton, but there's so much time saved in solo that just isn't implemented yet because the game's not competitive enough. Like, record is for co-op right now is like 52 minutes, and record for solo is by Carcoon. It's like 59:30 or something. And there's like only a handful of co-op specific tricks done in the run, or tricks done in co-op that aren't done in solo. A lot of the time save is just from having two brains playing the game. Here's another cool trick where we do another cling warp, and then I'm gonna specifically. Okay, I don't know what that was. I've never seen that. Anyway,
it was very cool looking.
One there. Yeah, I should have not fallen after that. But then we can do another warp. And here's another section, or I guess we skipped the other section where you're walking like this, but there's a couple spots in the game where you do that. And here's this knocked over bridge that we can just skip by doing that jump, and then I can cling warp through. So this is our first encounter with batteries. This is a mechanic in a lot of the level, or a lot of the chapters, where you put the battery in the blue thing and it gives it power. And coming up soon, we'll be able to smuggle a battery into a section that uses batteries, and so that way we can save some time with that. Here I'm doing a jump across, and then I'm doing that jump, which actually gives you a Steam achievement. I don't remember what the Steam achievement's called, but you can get the battery over here a little quicker. And then here, while I'm doing gate skip, actually that's not here yet, I forgot. We're doing some more 1P2C here to build a bridge. I want to grab the 3x3 pieces because they're longer and it makes the jump easier. And so here I can get a nice like coyote timing edge jump, and that gets me across this bridge. And then now back to Carcoon while I focus up a little bit.
So this is another section where Sonic will really have to use his 1P2C abilities, where he's using both characters at the same time. He needs to loosen the connection to follow that speaker there, and then get across with both players. And that can be very exacting to do.
Yeah, and you could see there I did another respawn warp just because it's much faster than doing the parkour. And that one's not precise, it's just if you die while on that side, you'll get warped.
You can see how many, even this early on, you can see how many different parts of puzzles have multiple points of articulation that both players are expected to interact with. So knowing that Sonic needs to keep instructions for how to do each side in his head at basically all times gives you an idea of what makes this so difficult.
Yeah, that's one of the fun parts of 1P2C is eventually a lot of sections become muscle memory. Especially in more of the mainline LEGO games. Like, there's sections I can do. Like, my main speedrun game is LEGO Indiana Jones. And many of the sections that are 1P2C just become muscle memory, like, very quickly. And so it's just like, okay, let me do this, because I'm doing it the same way every time. And my hands just know what to do. Like, this game's a little different because, basically, like, how the physics works and how the interactions with the environment works, it's much less the same thing every time, and a lot of, like, let me figure out how to do it this time. because I have to mash buttons while I'm jumping, and hopefully the rotation is correct. Because there's a lot of, like, oh, I'm rolling around as a Lego object, I need to be this rotation, or I need to be at this height. There as well as another player boost, and then a cling warp. And then coming up here is gate skip that I was talking about. It's actually the first gate skip that we do. That's another spot I'm going to have to focus on in a second. Oh, that's not how you do that. Another one of these parkour sections.
But that will happen a lot during a casual co-op playthrough.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm surprised, like, not necessarily surprised per se, but like to see the value that the connection move has in the speedrun context is like, in a casual playthrough, you will probably shy away from using that, because with another player, it's so unwieldy to try to understand what to do with it.
Exactly. And then, Carcoon, you can take over here because I gotta make sure I can do this.
Sure thing. So you just saw Sonic phase through that gate. Maybe it looks a bit weird, but if you hold forward and spam your jump and bind key, you can sometimes just phase through that gate. Not sure why that happens, but it's a
There
pretty
we
neat
go.
skip.
Nice.
And that was him doing the battery steal strat, where you can smuggle a battery past that gate, which you normally wouldn't be able to do. And that's going to help us coming up in the next section here.
Rip. You can get some funny response in this game. Yeah, this isn't a very important battery to take because there's this whole complicated skip that we would have to do beforehand where we were trying to get this battery without spending too much time. And now we can just take one from before. And we can do another respawn warp here. If I can actually get... Oh. Okay. I guess that counts. That's not what I was going for, but we got across. So now we have one of these batteries on the boat. We can power the boat with the battery, and then we're going to use this battery here later on. I'm going to go ahead and set it up right here. I'm losing a little bit of time on this because I was behind on the other player. But this is one of the 2 vehicle sections in this game. And I'm going to take a little bit of time real quick to let Blue and Red do some talking.
Oh yeah, did we not mention earlier you have a dedicated button that lets you do this as each player?
It's true. We'll see some more of that at the train section. I'm kind of in the wrong spot here, but I'm going to try and make it work. Okay, I need to move the boat over.
Super close. I can't help but imagine this is one of the few sections of the game that is actually easier as a 1-player 2-controller configuration.
Well, Carcoon, is it easier?
Yes, absolutely.
Being the co-op.
The amount of theory of mind you need for a co-op with something like this is insane. There's often a lot of times where I have to shout at my co-op partner to please go left or similar.
Yeah, once you get the movement down on the car and the boat, it becomes pretty easy to get around. Like, here I know, okay, stop holding forward on player on red, then I'll go that way. Or the same thing with the other player. So here we're gonna do some more movement to grab a battery, but then I'm gonna do like a respawn warp to be able to get back to the boat faster. Grab the battery. I'm on the boat now with red. So while I can move a little bit forward with red and then jump off the boat, and if both players fall in the water at the same time or similar times, then we can get a warp to the boat. Getting blocked by that right now. That's kind of funny. Usually this boat section will take another 2 minutes because you gotta go to the right and get a battery. Oh, and there's also one to the left, which gives you a different Steam achievement. We were talking about that earlier as well. Okay, I need this battery. But instead we can just take that battery from before, and it saves us kind of a headache of a section. Because the route before was you do a funny player boost, and then you try and get the battery to warp across to the other player, and then you get over to the other player. And that way you can climb over a fence. But instead of doing that, we just take the battery. It's much easier. So here we can see that rocket again. We really want to get across, but oh no, we're too short. The chair doesn't like us. So we're gonna have to figure that out.
Yeah, perhaps unsurprisingly, when playing casually, a lot of the puzzles here involve building things, and in many of the cases here, we're just skipping those sections. Like the puzzles with the batteries tend to involve like building your way over to something, or getting flung over to the battery and then building your way back.
Exactly. I'm excited to get to chapters 32, 33, 34, and 35, where I guess not 32, but 33 through 35 would probably take 20 minutes. Actually, that's an exaggeration. Probably more like 12 minutes to do speedrun-wise, but we just kind of skip the sections, and we don't have to do them. So it takes more like 3 minutes. And you can see we're back at the home island here. I have to actually get on the elevator. This is the hardest part of the whole run.
There's always
ironically, yeah.
Getting in the houses is also difficult. So here, there's soft lock potential. We're not going to soft lock because there's a way to avoid it. But before that way to avoid it was known, you would just sometimes soft lock in this section. And however spaghetti code they used to program this part, I guess they didn't expect you to be so fast when all that causes a soft lock, to my knowledge, is just like going too quick, like just walking. So you'll see after this section, and we'll explain kind of what's happening with the soft lock and what we're doing to avoid it. Here we just wait for this yellow piece, we cling on it and get off. And now the dudes start building a little rocket. They're very eager to get to space.
Yeah, and while they do that, I'd like to let everyone who is eager to get to AGDQ know that Awesome Games Done Quick 2026 will be held live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania from January 4th to the 10th. It's going to be so soon after tonight's show. Registration is available now through the event, so be sure to register if you want to experience the event in person. Visit gdq.gg for more information.
Yeah, definitely go to that. Very, very fun to watch on stream. I bet it's even better in person.
Much like this game, it is something special to experience. Highly recommend both.
So here, I kind of want to bring up that red and blue are moving this big rocket thing all by themselves. I don't know how they're doing it. It looks very heavy, but props to them.
I mean, by the changes in the background and like the stuff off the trees, I would say the answer to how they're doing it is very slowly and carefully.
True.
As you undertake any massive task, like making it through another year.
Exactly. Very fitting. So here, we just put on the battery. Now we get to wait. This weather is probably very fitting for many of the people watching right now. This is the cold section of the game, and then after this we're gonna get to the warm section. You'll see that in a little bit. But cool thing about this island is there's a lot of stuff to interact with. We don't exactly have time to do that right now because of the speedrun, but there's many fun things to mess with, such as this rocket. Oh, I'm now remembering that this section doesn't end until I get onto the rocket, so we've lost a little bit of time here. So there actually was something to do, and I didn't do it.
Look,
so
there's
now
always
we can
time to
wait.
show off how cute this game is. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Like you guys got to see the rocket. Let me actually launch it now that we have time to do so. Whee! Now we wait. Oh, you can see it's getting a little colder here.
Sure. And while we're waiting, you could head over to or open up another tab at gdq.gg/hotfix and take a look at this week's schedule. You could also submit your runs to be showcased on the hotfix at that same site. So if there are things that you are working on that you're interested in running and you'd like to show them off to everybody here who's watching the Games Done Quick hotfix, head over to gdq.gg/hotfix to take a look at that and get more information.
All right, so you can see here, I'm waiting. That was not me making a mistake this time. You have to wait for that camera pan to happen, or else you soft lock. Sometimes. Like, sometimes the game will, I think it tries to load the next, like, section early or something, and it'll interrupt your fade to black with, just a cut to black, and then you're kind of just stuck there. So, we figured out, I think Nico, one of the other runners of this game, co-op world record holder right now. Figured out by watching a casual playthrough that if you kind of just wait there for a little longer, then you won't soft lock. And I think that's very strange. I don't know why that happens, but like I'm just happy there's not a random soft lock in the run anymore. So yeah, this is what it would look and sound like. So I'm assuming it tries to load that section. Alright, so now you can see here, we're no longer short. Blue has grown a little bit, which is great for us because now we can go to space, in theory. Like we're tall enough for the chair now.
Slight foreshadowing.
Yeah, a little bit of foreshadowing. So Karkun, while we have some downtime, do you want to talk a little bit about what a co-op run is like and the differences between solo?
Sure thing. So solo requires you to play both characters by yourself, as Sonic is doing currently, and co-op entails that 2 players are allowed to play at the same time. Part of what makes co-op very different is that you have to coordinate 2 players, which can both be easier and more difficult, especially for sections that require a bit more coordination. But overall, for movement and such, it makes a very huge difference, because it makes it a lot easier to navigate both players through rocky sections like these.
Yeah, here's a good example where I opt to connect both players together just because it's a little easier to get through here. In co-op, it would save you a little bit of time to just not do that, especially because now you have to make this jump. Here is, I don't know if there's a name for this skip, but typically there's a section over there where we grab some Lego blocks. Instead, we're just going to use this one piece here. We get to put it here. Now, Blue, the tall guy, we put him there. Or just do a little jump. Oh, I messed it up. Now we can double jump, and we can get Red up there, and then we can do a respawn warp. And that saves a decent amount of time. Oh, let me actually do the movement properly. This is one of those, like a sneak peek at one of these movement sections again. You see if I die, I just respawn at the start. And I'm walking right there, that's not
The
great.
enhanced alley-oop capability now that Blue is taller is great.
Exactly. Here I'm getting Blue up sooner, because bottlenecked by opening this door. And then now we're onto some more movement. This part is significantly easier in co-op, I can imagine, just because I want to make this cycle, but I'm controlling 2 players and I'm fumbling, so now I have to wait. So like here,
The
like
greed is real.
Yeah, we could have made so many more cycles if I controlled the players better, but like in co-op, obviously that's easier. Here, Karkun, you want to explain this so I can focus? Oh,
Sure thing. So normally what you're supposed to do is get over to the other side there to lower the radio tower that you see there, but
Nice,
Sonic's going
good
to use the movement that or the velocity that you get from launching the other player by raising the platforms there, and that's going to be able allow him to get both players across.
I'm currently. Oh, there we go.
Oh, wow.
placing
that
that
looked way
block.
less likely to work than the other jumps, and yet here.
I agree. I agree. And here's another good example of a respawn warp. We're bottlenecked by Blue, we get them up first. Then we can just jump into the void, and Red's up here now. So now Blue's ahead, we can hit this lever. If I don't miss, that moves the bridge. Here we're into chapter, I think this is chapter 20. This fling doesn't save time unless you're behind, in which case I was there. And so, just barely missed the fling with Red there. Generally, this cycle depends on what strats you use. Here I want Red up front, because it makes this movement easier. If I had fallen there, again, I would just have to redo it because of the respawn. Here's another one of these like tiptoe sections. We're up to one of my favorite sections here. This jump, which is kind of frustrating to do. So here we're waiting, and then, okay, depth perception moment. You could and should go around, but this is slightly faster if you first try it, so we're kind of gambling. It also depends on the cycle here, but I prefer that. And then here we get a respawn, so we can do that without worrying
I
about
like that
being
even our
hit back.
little, like, Tomb Raider / Uncharted climbing along cliff edge sections are built into the puzzles. So you get that break.
Exactly.
Like, do a puzzle, do a little movement, do another puzzle. It's a very enjoyable kind of cadence for when you're playing with another player.
For sure. Here's another section for you, Carcoon, because this is maybe gonna take me a couple tries. Okay, never mind.
Oh, you get a first try. So what you can do there is you can place those bricks there and then boost your other player up there. And then you can also
Here's-
just do another respawn here.
Yeah, okay, it didn't hit it that time. I learned right before the stream today that you can get a farther respawn warp there that is better, but I must not have walked far enough.
Yeah, that one's a bit finicky.
Here we're onto the conveyor belt section. This part can be kind of annoying because of these crushers here. I was on a bad cycle, so I got to wait. I'm gonna try the cling together strat here that Carcoon had mentioned to me. So now it's either all of us get across or none of us get across, which is fine because I would have waited for the other player anyway. So at the end of this section here, there's a spot where we need to climb up a wall, and it's slightly too high for us to reliably player boost, so to up my chances of getting pieces across, I'm grabbing 2 of these, but we really only need 1. That was very close to getting crushed. Here, I'm going to use this piece. I'm going to make sure it's turned properly, and I can do another player boost like that. And then here's our first piece double jump of the run, where if you do your inputs correctly, you can just get extra height with just a player and a piece. There, I was on a weird angle. That was kind of skill issue, but here's a good example. And now I'm up.
Uh-oh, Chad has started with the puns. It's interesting to see how this run is pieced together.
It's true, it's true.
Go on,
Here we're
Chad.
grabbing another
You know you
piece.
want to.
While we're talking about chat, once we get to the train section, I'm hoping to see a lot of choo-choos.
Oh, absolutely.
You'll understand why later.
And hey, maybe a hype train in support of the Games Done Quick hotfix and with excitement of coming up for GDQ 2026.
That's true.
Will be fitting.
Oh, this section.
Yeah, this section is terrible
such a bear
casually.
casually. Absolutely.
So here we can just piece double jump, and then we don't even have
Awesome.
to do anything with player 1. We just get a warp. And so that's that entire section done.
That's fantastic.
Oh, there we go. That was a crazy recovery. Alright. So that was another one of those sections. Here we have to do a little jump actually. Now, here's gate skip. The other gate skip that Karkin can explain real quick.
Sure thing. So what Sonic wants to do is to get to the other side of this gate, and there's a small little hole to the left here actually that he's going to be jumping past. And if you can curve far enough in rightwards, you can jump up the collision and end up on the other side. So he's just going to be doing that with both players here.
Yeah, it's almost as if they added this hole so you couldn't do this jump, but it's slow,
Right.
so you still can.
Yeah, this is some classic Mario 64 lethal lava land gaming. You just go around the
Exactly.
post they put up to try to keep you from getting to the star. That's very good.
That's essentially what we're doing here. This part is kind of cool. Like, we grab onto the metal pieces so that the magnet thing can grab us. There's another one of these, but we're just gonna skip it. Like, we can hit another respawn warp right here. Hit that jump, and then hit this jump. And now I'm gonna take it one at a time so I don't miss. Oh, I did miss. Okay, we can back this up still. Alright, so if you don't jump far enough, you don't get the respawn. Apparently I'm not getting the respawn right now, so let me... Okay, that one worked. So we got that respawn. Here it's very important that we get 7 of these pieces specifically, because we need 7 to be able to build a bridge in a second. Anyone who's played this will might remember this magnet section, which I can only assume is terrible casually.
It's a real brain teaser. Like I would say in our experience, we figured it out kind of one piece at a time.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Instead of doing that, we're just taking these pieces that are just kind of for show, and then we're gonna do kind of a a player launch here. This is going to be our first one of these, but we'll see if I can actually hit it fast. So using the momentum of the roll, we can get a jump and then either get a respawn or get launch all the way across. Our other option is do some funny, yeah, something like that. Ideally, we get the momentum here, almost. There's probably a better way to do this. I kind of just throw myself at it till it works, which isn't ideal. But like, it's one of those tricks where like, there we go. It just kind of worked that time.
Yeah, like, and hypothetically what you're doing in some cases is actually because the players are moving at different paces and they don't, you know, fall into the pit together all the time. You could be building up momentum with one character that carries over to a next spawn, like connects with the other in a unforeseen way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you could be so much more careful with your movement in this game, but like but by the fact that it's like a physics-based game and you're in solo controlling both players,
Right.
it's much easier to just gamble and hope that what you're doing is going to work this time. Like, I don't exactly have setups for this game yet for a lot of tricks, just because it's not at that level. Like, I don't need to first try everything. Here, I kind of just talked through this section, but we build this bridge. We do 3 across, 1 down, 3 across, and we're able to just jump up the collision and skip that whole section. Here's another respawn warp. Once we get past the second one of the parkour, we can just respawn blue across, which is much easier solo. Carcoon actually found that one. And here's another section that is kind of tough. Oops. But, okay. I got my... I don't know what that was, but we were desynced. Anyway, we can just... this is how you're meant to solve the puzzle, but instead of doing it a second time, we can, again, just respawn warp. I get blue on the lever, and then I aim for that yellow piece down there, and then we're across. So, here's another spot for downtime. We get to kind of just wait.
Yeah, you've been talking on a couple of occasions just because of the nature of the tricks of this run, and where you are and where the kind of solo category is, that, you know, the viewers might, in your mind, expect tricks to happen first time, and this is very much not a game or a category where that happens, but another community where they foster runners of all levels of skill and all categories of runs is Black in a Flash. If you enjoyed their recent Speeding Through the Holidays, you'll absolutely want to tune in for Back to Black starting February 5th, 2026. And if you are a Black speedrunner and would like to join to raise money for charity, celebrate Black voices in the speedrunning scene, and connect with other runners, you can learn more at gdq.gg/BAF or use !BAF in Twitch chat to learn more.
Before we choo-choo, I want to take a quick second to appreciate the soundtrack of this game. There's a lot of spots with some great music and just great ambient, but I'll let this section speak for itself. Choo-choo. I really enjoy the voice lines and you kind of just spam here.
Yes, I appreciate that there are a few unique sections of dialogue where it's more than just the la and ah, where they specifically react to what's going on.
Alright, Karkin, you've got this whole section because I need to be able to use my brain.
Sure thing. So this section is a section where you're supposed to use the truck to collect pieces and fix the rail so that you can progress with the train. But we figured out pretty recently that ditching the truck entirely is faster. So what we're going to do is we're going to be rounding up all the bricks with our players, and then once we have enough, we'll be heading straight over to a gate to do a small little skip. But in the meantime, Sonic will just be gathering these pieces by activating the dispensers and getting enough with both players.
You might have noticed I moved red to the right first before grabbing the pieces. That's to give the camera a little more range to stretch. Because if I hadn't moved that way, I would have been waiting on red to be able to get all the way over as blue to the section with the pieces. as you can see there, that may have gotten respawn warped backwards, as just happened to red. This is another section that's really tough to solo, because like the angles that you're rolling are very strange, especially because they're different based on your tower's like orientation and stuff like that. And I also am using keyboard and controller, so it's not even me doing the same inputs on both. Like, it's just slightly different. And then here, like Karkun was saying, we just kind of skip this gate. Since we're really tall right now, we can just climb over it, and we don't have to worry about like a silly switch that's in our way or that kind of thing. Alright, so here we put these pieces on. I'm going to use red real quick to make sure that they all get through, because sometimes it can get stuck on each other. In the meantime, while that's happening, I'm moving down here with both players, so that way blue can actually hit the switch, because we need to come through here later. As we did with bringing the blocks there, we need to bring them back once they're processed. We can get a respawn warp here, and the gate's open. I make it back just in time to collect these rail pieces. We want as long of a build as we can get, because that makes it much easier to move with these. Like, that's probably a good shape. We only need 8 of these, so if I can get one more of these in a good spot. Okay, that's not great, but it's not hard to rebuild. That's probably fine. And now we can just roll. I'm actually going to rebuild one more time with blue. That's much better. I don't understand
really
the physics
see
quite yet,
how much
but
the shape impacts the movement of the both players.
yeah, for sure. Like, I don't get the physics fully yet, but like, long shape equals better here. That's all I know. That
Yeah,
I
it's,
just
you
have
know,
respawn warp
levers
again.
and fulcrums and all that stuff that they tried to teach you as a kid in like science classes. And while it was neat to build shapes with like balsa wood and stuff, the actual underpinning is, yeah, it can be kind of tricky in practice, as you're seeing.
Yeah, clearly they were preparing me for this speedrun.
Exactly.
This section is... Okay, that guy was in the way. This section is tough on P2C, but... Okay, this is certainly a thing that can happen.
Yep, just picking up too many pieces when they're in
There we
proximity
go.
to one another.
I would typically do both sections separate, one with each player, but that's much easier right now. And then I'm actually getting some insane initial clings, because usually you have to do a lot of moving them around like
Yeah,
that.
reorienting to put them as close to where they eventually need to go, but sometimes the way the pieces snap into place is extra nice to you.
Exactly. So this is the other section we're riding on the train. The more choo-choos. As we're riding here, I'm using my monitor settings right now to turn on night vision mode. Because coming up here is, we're going to be in the dark a little bit. There's a skip we can do where we just, there's a light we're going to pick up that we could entirely skip if we wanted. It
Well,
saves about 5
our
more
viewers are
seconds.
going to be in the dark. You a
Yeah,
little
for
less
now.
so.
Yes, exactly. But we're going to opt to grab the light to make it a little better for the viewers and a little easier for me. Because you could do this whole skip in the dark, but I'm not going to hit it first try in the dark
Fair.
right now, so...
Fair.
Nor have I ever. It was also found a couple days ago. But I'm going to pass it over to Karkun again to explain this section after we're past the train.
Yeah, there's also a lot of fun little interactions, like one that we talked about setting up for the show and then didn't do just there is if you use the truck for that section and you park the truck in front of the train, the train will in fact push right through the truck.
Yeah, you get a Steam achievement for that as well. Choo-choo. Actually, it's unfair. On keyboard, I get 3 different buttons that speak. On controller, I just get the X button.
Hang. Controller just better, or mouse and keyboard just better, I guess.
Yeah, especially on the train.
All right,
Alright,
Karkun, you
Sonic's
want to
just
walk us
gonna
through?
be,
Yeah, go for it.
Sure thing. So Sonic will be sticking together with both players and the light here, and he's going to be using inputs on both players. For some reason, this makes the orientation a lot more stable, and it's faster to move vertically like this. So we'll just be doing that to speed through this section. And like you said, he's going to be sticking the light in here to make it a bit easier to see.
This skip is actually called light switch skip for obvious reasons. Here we're not skipping the light switch, but in theory we could.
So here Sonic is going to be oh, that was very close. But he's getting his blue player up there and then normalizing his position by singing here, and that puts him upright, and then he can simply flip over and try to grab a red here. He needs to get both of them up there, which can be very, very tricky.
Oh. This is one of the sections where you don't get a respawn after climbing, so you have to do it 2 times in a row.
Yeah, I don't think the developers actually intend you to get up here, but that might just be me.
Yeah, maybe. There we go.
Alright, so now he's going to try and boost his second player up there. Very nice.
What?
Oh,
Rip. That's
that was
okay.
very close.
There we go. You could do a third cling warp there, but it's much harder, and it's also you have to first try it. So I'm just gonna do a respawn warp. We lost time on that, but if you hit everything first try, that saves about 45. And then while I'm on this elevator, I'm gonna turn night vision mode back off because I can. Alright, coming up is a special part in the game. You get to build your own rocket, actually. The game gives you some pieces and also a kind of a canvas to be able to put those pieces on, and they'll actually stick to the rocket. I've preemptively prepared a rocket in honor of the LEGO speedrun community. We'll see it in its full glory later, but you can kind of see the pieces of it. This took more than an hour. Maybe more than 2 hours.
I kind of thought your sentence was just going to end, this took more time than I care to admit. Which, yeah, understandable.
You can also get some fun colors. And sadly, we're going to have to get rid of those colors. Here's another good time to talk about getting into like a speedrun like this. Like when you first start out, especially with many LEGO games, I'd say to be competitive at all in many of the LEGO games, you have to learn 1P2C, which sounds like a major drawback and a major choke point for getting into these runs, but it becomes the most fun part of LEGO speedrunning in my opinion. Like, there's so much more depth in the games when you control both players at the same time. There's a much higher skill ceiling, and like, it just kind of gets you really good at a skill that you wouldn't really think about. And so like, even if you're starting out on a game like this that is very 1P2C heavy, don't let that stop you from learning the speedrun, because you very quickly learn how to adapt to it and learn how to do all the movement, and it's very rewarding. So now we build a rocket.
I guess one thing we mentioned earlier was how muscle memory sort of pertains to 1P2C, but 1P2C is a very transferable skill, so even if you learn it for like LEGO Voyagers, for instance, you'll find great use for it elsewhere as well.
Like, just being able to do 1P2C opens the door to learning any of the LEGO games. Like, that's the main similarity between them, obviously not counting the fact that they're all LEGO. This next section is chapter 33, and this is one of the longer chapters in the entire game, and we're just not going to play it. If you've played this game casually, you'll remember this big gauntlet of basically going to rocket school to become a rocket scientist, and instead we're going to do a skip called college skip, where you just go around a door. Like here, you're meant to do all these puzzles, you're meant to do all this astronaut training. Rather than doing that, we're going to be doing college skip, which I'll let Carcoon explain real quick while I'm doing this.
Indeed, in true speedrunning fashion. So what we'll be doing here is that Sonic will be trying to essentially build a bridge. And what Sonic's going to do is he's going to jump around with his blue player here. And hopefully end up on the other side of the gate.
There
Very
you go.
nice.
Now I'm going to move these pieces away.
Now he's trying to set his respawn point so that he can make a nice point for Red to latch onto.
That might be good. Okay, this might take a couple tries. There we go, perfect. Alright,
Nice.
that's our first skip in this section. Now we're doing spacesuit skip. This was found by me when I thought, what if you just go over the wall? Like, how will the game treat it? And then, so here, because we already knew you could get up there, because there's, whoops, don't want to be stuck in there. Hold on. There's a section, like the section before, you can do an up warp to get up top. So we knew it was possible to get up there. Here I've gotten red stuck, never done that before, but I'm actually going to use it to my advantage real quick. If I can get up here with blue. Let's see. Alright, I'm going to opt to reload the chapter here, instead of dealing with that. Because this just puts me right back to where I was. And so, here we're just going to climb over the wall. You see I got up first try there, that's what should have happened before. And now, instead of grabbing the spacesuit as blue, I'm just going to climb up top here. Hopefully not fall. Now I'm up on the yellow. I can jump over this whole wall. And now, we're going to roll for a little while. Here, there's a trigger. This is the one time in the game, or I guess one of 2 times in the game, where blue is not with us right now. And so this becomes a one-player game for a little bit. You can hear red's going to be really sad, and the camera moves. Now, blue is not here. There's a trigger we hit, even though we didn't do the section properly, that just makes blue go away. And so here, we're going to do some jumps to get the camera fixed. I'm obviously stuck on the wall here, so let me go around that. There we go. So now I'm over. Now we're doing, that was chapter 34 skip, essentially. Now we're going to do chapter 35 skip. But there's this big water puzzle. Instead of doing that big water puzzle, we're just going to go up the elevator, then we go down the elevator. Now this gives us control while we're on the elevator to just jump off, and then we can do a respawn warp here. And we skip that couple minute long puzzle.
Perfect. Yeah, that's another puzzle that's a real mind bender. I'm gonna reference a game that I would be surprised if more than a dozen people watching right now have played. It's Bart's Nightmare for the Super Nintendo. One of the mini games in that is one where you were trying to get through a temple like Indiana Jones style, and when you jump on platforms, they either go up or down one level. And so when you're building the different platforms in the water section, I was thinking of that because like you're working with a different verticality to build a path across.
I would say it's kind of unfortunate that we skipped so much content in a row, because those are really cool and really fun sections.
They are.
They are also very long and difficult to 1P2C, so I'll take it. Here, we're essentially done with the run. The last 2 splits are kind of auto-scrollers. We've got one more trick left that's very minor, but now we get to see our LEGO Speedruns rocket in all its glory. And this is kind of the dramatic point in the game's story. Red is short, blue is tall, which means blue can go to space, and red has to be mission control.
Yep, only blue can operate the chair. This is the moment when you start to realize that, you know, as much as you've gotten attached to the character that you or your, you know, you've been playing as, and your co-op partner has gotten attached to theirs, that your fates might end up being a little bit different.
Yep. I also want to call out Blue's speaking through a walkie-talkie type thing. You can see when I'm done mashing the talk button, it's like a little radio static, like that. I think that's a cool touch.
Yeah, in the two previous chapters, one of them was Red following along as Blue gets suited up, and the other one is Red building the platforms as Blue kind of goes in through a diving bell and repairs part of the facility.
Yeah, we skipped those parts, the contact. But essentially, that was the build up to this as well.
Shoutouts to the LEGO speedrunning community.
Big shout
Well
out.
represented both on the stream and on the side of the rocket.
Exactly. Another, taking another opportunity here to say, very fun, very welcoming speedrunning community. Lots of opportunities of different games to run, different streams to watch. Would highly recommend at least poking your head in the Discord server, seeing what's going on. Maybe you're interested in learning a game or something. Alright, here comes up our last trick of the run. Instead of walking, or I guess rolling, I'm going to jump into the void and it's going to warp me a little bit forward. This is our last respawn warp. And there's our 1 second time save.
Nice.
We theorize that if you let this timer count down, it'll eventually launch the rocket, but no one's tried it.
I was wondering to see if it does in fact autopilot, but no, I also did not contribute to figuring out whether it actually does that or not.
Yeah, one day I probably will.
Yeah, as we're sending the rocket on its way, just a reminder that if you want to appear on GDQ Hotfix, we're currently accepting submissions for the winter season. If you've got a run, a showcase, or something else that you would like to show off on the Games Done Quick channel, send it our way at gdq.gg/hotfix/submit, or type !submit in chat for more information about that. Hey, it's almost like we're counting down to something important happening tonight.
Yeah, I wonder what that is.
4, 3, 2, 1. Happy LEGO Voyagers, everyone.
Such a cinematic moment.
Like, honestly, one of the most masterful late title cards, considering it's right at the end of the game.
Yep.
It is a reflection on everything you and your co-op partner have gone through so far.
This is not quite the end of the run yet. We do get the conclusion chapter, chapter 37. Which makes
And hey, if it had been like 90 seconds later, it also would have synced up for with midnight in GMT -1, I think. People who are 4 hours ahead of Eastern time.
We should get the devs to change the game for that.
True, true.
And here we got Red's tall, we've got blue in the sky, and they're talking over the radio. A very sweet ending. Cue the Steam achievement. I don't remember what it's called. But once the faded black happens, that'll be time. I want to take this opportunity to say thanks to Hotfix for having me. Thanks to Cartoon for the comms. Definitely recommend getting into any kind of speedrun at all. Very rewarding, very fun.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure being with you.
Big thanks to T-Tree as well for being the person
Hey,
who
my
reached out to me for Voyager's appearance, and that's time.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
So yeah, I just
57:30.
double checked the speedrun.com board, and you previously mentioned that your time was a 59 something, and this run was a little bit faster than that.
A little bit. We'll
So
see.
congratulations on the world record.
Yeah, it's a world record
Congrats.
thing.
Close out the year. Dang.
Stealing it straight from Cartoon. Yeah, thanks again for having me.
Oh, my sincere pleasure. Yeah, let me go grab while we're working on that and going into our break before our next run. I'm going to go ahead and do the favor of grabbing the speedrun link, or the link to the Lego Speedruns Discord. So we'll have that Again, thank you so much, Sonic7 and Carcoon, the both of you, for joining us. I knew that everyone who tuned in for this run was really going to enjoy themselves and find something new and special about this run. That's one of the things that I enjoy most about both our hotfix content and our GDQ mainline events is people getting turned on to games they've never seen before and like taking up that passion to run them for themselves. So thank you so much for making that possible for our viewers tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much.
But that's not all for this show, nor for our evening. Come on back in just a few minutes after our break for a fresh file showcase of Hades 2. That's going to be something amazing as well. Take care of yourself, take a few minutes, and come on. Welcome on back to Out of the Box on the Games Done Quick Hotfix. My name is the T-Tree. You know, I always enjoyed watching these last stream before AGDQ. Something about having that in the title just gets you excited for what is to come. And that is absolutely true of me and AGDQ 2026. I am so glad to be able to bring you this part of GDQ's broadcast schedule. I never thought I'd be the one doing the last stream before AGDQ, but you never can tell what the future will bring, which is a theme of our next game, which you have probably seen on this channel before, but not like this. This is a fresh file showcase of Hades 2 from the extremely talented Mininet. So Mininet, let's get it going.
All right. Well, hello everyone. This is a fresh file showcase of Hades 2. And so right off the bat, a couple of things I just want to get explained before we get started. If you're unfamiliar with how Hades 2 works, you are playing as Melanoe, and she has the goal to kill the final boss, being Kronos. You might have heard of her catchphrase, "Death to Kronos," in gameplay trailers. And so Fresh File is incredibly unique because it is an incredibly scripted encounter phase, where almost every single encounter in the game, compared to most other runs, has some form of set structure, whether it be enemies or room dynamics or how the bosses operate. And so there are two main unique differences that make Fresh File unique to other casual play runs, that being a concept known as the God Pool and a mechanic known as Eris. And so Eris is a mechanic that, for any casual runners, you might have encountered when you're playing a Fresh File. Eris gives you a curse known as the Blessing of Strife, which increases the damage taken as you play throughout the game. There is a way to work around this mechanic, that being she only spawns it if you enter a new region at above 50% HP. The other one is a Fresh File God Pool. Contrary to other normal runs in Hades 2, you're only allowed to get allowed to get 4 of 5 available gods: Apollo, Demeter, Poseidon, Aphrodite, and Hestia. All of these mechanics will be further explained as we enter the run, but for now, let's get started. Timer starts the moment I create a new save slot. Timer starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Now.
Good luck.
Few tales are told of Hades, whose reign as grim lord of the dead came to a sudden end when all at once...
So, while the intro cutscene is being played, I just want to reiterate one more time. Every single region has a set scripted encounters. All the enemies are going to be the exact same in every single Fresh File run, just in different order. So, as we get started, we are going to be entering our first encounter. Before we do this, I'm actually going to disable the auto sprint option. I play without auto sprint, and for some odd reason, first run Fresh File has a flag that actually enables auto sprint for mouse and keyboard.
And it's only on first run too, and only for KBM.
So this is Chamber 2 of Erebus. Like I said, it will always have a fixed encounter, so there is a set strategy that Fresh File runners have kind of developed to clear this as efficiently as possible. So, our first rune, like I said, will always be Apollo. Just give me some time to read some dialogue.
Of course, yeah. And, you know, there are some, like, one of the things that you'll typically see in Hades 2 speedruns on this channel is multiple weapon runs. where part of it is watching a runner wrap their head around the complexity and the mechanics of multiple different weapons. In Freshfile, you only have Discura, or the Witch's Staff. So, in a sense, your tactical options are more limited, but that also gives you a sense of clarity and direction as to how the combat of the run goes.
So, our first divergence from the meta Freshfile strategy is actually going to be taking the Blinding Rush option instead of Nova Strike. Nova Strike is the popular speedrun option, as it allows for a boon called Breaker Rush later on down the line, but that is very reset and RNG heavy. So instead, I'm going to be taking our Blinding Rush, which allows for a lot more build flexibility later on down the line.
For those who may have watched a Hades 1 Freshfall run before, picking Dash up as the first boon may sound familiar. In Hades 1 Freshfall, the first boon is scripted as well, and people there will always pick the first boon. Pick Dash as their first boon.
Yep. So first things first.
It makes sense.
Yep. We have our first non-Apollo god, which is Demeter. One thing I didn't mention earlier on is that in order to unlock, there's actually unlock conditions to get Aphrodite and Hestia. That being, you need to first unlock Demeter and Poseidon first. This is a mechanic, again, unique to a first run Freshfile. And so, getting Demeter early on is very nice. We're going to be grabbing our Arctic Ring, which applies a freeze effect on our cast, which is a very good utility option. These are minor rewards that's in the coming room. These don't matter to anything in our run. These are for meta progression. Since this is a first run Freshfile, we don't got any meta progression we need to worry about. Once again, we're using our cast as it both deals damage and is a good utility option. Ooh, I am going back to Poseidon, which is another great god. So, this is our first mini-boss of the run, the Root Stalker. Root Stalker has a very... Ooh, I messed up there.
The Root Stalker deploys an AoE of Vines, which can hold Milenoe temporarily in place if she steps inside, and that is what happened there. Mininet dashed right onto one of those zones and took a bit of damage. Not too many more of those, and he might die. We do have a backup in case this happens, though.
Hopefully we don't go there.
Oh yeah, depending on when and where, like, you have a range of options. If you just wanted to spool up another run at it, delete and create another fresh file, we have plenty of time to make those choices, should we need to, just like you often do in a good roguelike.
Exactly.
So,
roguelikes are all about improvising.
Yep. So this is one of our first mid shops, our Kairon. We don't have enough gold to buy anything. This here is meta progression. We don't need it for a first run Freshfile, and so instead we're going to be saving the gold for something else. So another thing you might be noticing is I will be trying to use these trees to increase my damage as much as possible. Those trees are part of the environment, but they do indeed do a lot of damage.
Yeah, there are environmental damage options in, I think, all of your environments here, but they're easiest to work with here in Erebus, so it's definitely a good opportunity to talk about them now. Also, one thing that I don't think you've gone into yet, but really makes Freshfile challenging is when enemies spawn with that yellow health over their standard red health. That's armor, and until the armor is gone, they don't suffer knockback or have their attack patterns interrupted or anything when you're hitting them. So the first part of each enemy that spawns with armor has to be handled especially delicately.
And that's kind of why Arctic Ring is so good for utility, because the freeze effect actually does halt their movement despite being armored. So I'm actually going to be grabbing a steady growth here. Local climate, the Omega cast is great, but it has very niche cases. Ice Strike, I already have a freeze effect, and I would rather have some other god in my attack slot that can do more for me in general. We're going to be grabbing our health instead of a money because we want to live, and I already have a lot of money to work with.
This is a no reset setting after all.
And hey, even after that extra 25 health, you should be roughly at that 50% mark that you were talking about earlier, so adjusting to be ready for the next location should be fairly easy.
So in this
It's 30%. Fountains heal for 20%.
Yes. There is a
Need to be
fountain
at 50.
at the end of every region that heals for 20%. And so you want to be exiting every region at about 30. Thankfully, it is at or equal to 50%, so you can be exactly 50% HP and still be fine. So we are now entering our first end shop of the run. This is the shop that appears before the boss fight. I'm going to be buying our Poseidon boon, looking for Slippery Slope. Perfect, right here. This Slippery Slope, your splash effects from Poseidon also inflict froth. Splash effects include Wave Flourish and Wave Strike. You can see that splash right there. This is a requirement to unlock this boon. And so this is great because when you attack an enemy inflicted with froth, you have a chance to deal extra damage. So it's just more damage. And since in a fresh file run, you don't really have many meta upgrades to work with, any amount of damage you can get is good.
Anyway, this is Hecate, the first boss of the run. She is the one who trained Melinoe to go and kill Kronos, and she wants us to face off against her to prove that she is worthy. Hecate's patterns include magic, teleporting around, and more, as you'll see.
Yes.
And I appreciate that, as Supergiant always does, as they did in Hades 1, there is special dialogue for certain circumstances. In this case, for reaching the end of this location quickly enough.
Yes.
There's also separate ones for completing a region without taking any damage.
So right off the bat, what you'll notice is me dashing in and actually using this tree for a nice burst of damage. So this is a triple divide move. There is an audio cue that you can use. However, I just like to guess. So she has 3 phases. Phase 1 is what you just saw. We kind of beeline through it using a tree for extra damage. In between each phases, she becomes invulnerable, and you need to kill those witches that spawn in order to, well, make her vulnerable again. Thin deal here, we're going to be using a tree, and we're actually going to be trying to use some of these orbs. Ooh. Before we do that, I want to explain this. This is the sheep ball. If you got ever hit by it, it makes you turn into a sheep, making you vulnerable or unable to do anything.
You no longer have any attacks. You move at about 20% speed. The camera zooms in on you, so the entire section while you are a sheep is just about dodging what Hecate and the witches throw at you.
Yes.
It is, however, still possible to deal damage, technically. It's just terribly inefficient unless you have
There is an achievement for defeating an enemy while sheep.
An easy way to do that is to just break one of the trees while you are sheeped. So you might have noticed me taking some intentional damage right there at the very end, walking into that circle. That was intentional. I was at 17 HP out of 55. Unfortunately, that does put me over the 50% mark. If I do take this fountain healing at the end, 17 HP would put me at, I believe it is 28, which is just barely above that 50% HP mark, meaning I will get Eris if I enter Oceanus here, which is our next region. So I had to take that last hit, putting me very low at 5 HP. However, this does allow me to go below that 50% threshold and avoid Eris.
Now for the hardest region of the run, arguably.
Yes, this is a region that many Fresh File players hate. Oceanus, Chamber 1, again, is a very fixed structure. The encounter will always be the same, and there will always be these lurkers and hippos. This is a very, very annoying encounter because lurkers are some of the most difficult enemies to deal with in the game because of a backstep attack that does AoE damage. If you see me pause, I apologize, that is on instinct. This Fresh File first run is an IGT timed category, so that was just muscle memory. I will try to avoid that as much as possible.
Hey, do what you need to. You have plenty of time to show off how this run progresses, so if you need a breather, by all means.
So this run, this room, again, is a very fixed structure. I have Arctic Rain, which makes this room a absolute breeze. Essentially, that
Thank goodness for that.
Yes, that encounter summons a bunch of small fishes that dash at you. Arctic Ring does stop them in their track before they can reach you, so the strategy is just to kind of hide in a corner and let them come to you, get frozen, so you can deal some easy damage. Entering into another shop here, we have two options for a mid-boss, Apollo and Demeter. I will be going for the Demeter, but first, I'm actually going to be buying some health, because the I'm very low, and the mid-bosses can deal a lot of damage, and can kill me on accident if I am not careful. I will be taking the Arctic Gale here. I am not really using mana, so I don't necessarily need the gain for now. Local climate, like I explained earlier, is a very niche case. Arctic Gale just makes my cast all that much stronger, with a slowdown effect on projectiles.
Something I see we did not bring up yet was the existence of so-called duo boons. Duo boons are special shiny boons that have the effects of two gods combined. But our objective in a fresh file run is to get some specific ones of those. The ones we are going for right now are called Beach Ball and
Tropical
the other one I forgot the name of.
Yep.
Tropical Cyclone.
Tropical
Thank you,
Cyclone.
Minnie.
Yep. Local climate, same deal. Ice Strike, same deal. I'm going to be grabbing the Snow Queen. That gives me a barrier that stops one instance of damage, giving me all that much more protection.
Yeah, that's some terrific boss encounter survivability, or just any other mistakes that happened at the beginning of a fight.
Mm-hmm. Armored Hippos, pretty easy encounter because I do have that Arctic Ring. I will actually be grabbing the health here. I think Poseidon was the better play in almost every world. However, it is very much up to RNG because of something known as Core Boon Priority. I don't know if that's the official name the community has it. Essentially, Hades will the game will want to try to fill up your core boons as much as possible. Those are the boons you will see on the right-hand side, or left-hand side, I apologize.
The ones attached to specific abilities, like attack, special, cast, dash.
Exactly. If you have any open slots for any of those, they will try to fill those up as fast as possible. And so any duo boons that I try to get will have a much lower chance. And so instead, I will be going for the health just to play safe in a no reset setting. We now unlock Hestia as our next god, which is in my opinion, the best god to get in a fresh file setting. Scorch is an effect unique to Hestia that essentially adds a damage over time effect that does, well, a lot of damage.
Yeah, right now we have that on Gale in our cast, but being able to get Scorch and modify Scorch effects, I can absolutely imagine is a real nice boost to DPS.
Yep. So this is what we're talking about, our Flame Strike, which is a core boon. The game will always try to fill those up as much as possible. Flame Strike gives me a Scorch Afflicting attack, which means every time an enemy gets hit with an attack, they will take stacking 30 damage over time. Now, this Poseidon is very great because it opens me up for two possible duo boons. I can either get one with a Scorch effect plus a Froth effect, known as Scalding Vapor, or I can get one known as Beach Ball, which is opened from any Poseidon boon and a Apollo or Poseidon rush boon. Or
Oh, hey.
the third option. The third option being Natural Selection, which is also great. This means your boons in the leftmost column, otherwise known as your core boons, these 5, gain plus levels spread across however many you have. It just means it takes that +8 and randomly distributes it to these 4 available options that I have. If I had a gain boon, then it would also distribute those +8 levels to that as well. But since I don't...
So essentially we just gained a ton of pomegranates all at once.
Exactly. So now, we enter into our second Guardian region, Sirens.
You may remember from Hades 1 the Heroes boss fight, where where you are fighting against 2 different boss enemies. Well, this one's that, but more. You're fighting against 3 of them, and one of them can literally manipulate the floor, create AoEs.
Mm-hmm.
Each of the sirens has her own abilities,
Yep.
and the drummer creates the AoEs. The guitarist rushes at you and causes some extra projectiles to appear on the field, and Skilla is the main boss enemy that will be following you around and screaming at you. You'll see what I mean by that.
Yes. So the 3 names, more specifically, is Skilla, which is being the main singer that you can see here. We have Jetty being the guitarist you see above Skilla, and Roxy being the drummer on the left.
The 3 of them are responsible for the music we heard on the way through Asphodel. Fun fact.
Yeah, the closer you got to this room, the louder the music and the vocal effect gets in the background. Again, like with LEGO Voyagers before this, the attention to detail from the devs of tonight's games is impeccable.
Yes. So the main strategy for this run is to actually immediately rush Jetty. The reason is not because we want to kill Jetty first, but it's actually because we want to kite Skilla around. Skilla cannot move around Roxy, and therefore we can put some distance between us immediately. And the scream attack is now over. We actually then want to rush Roxy here because she creates the field AoE, and that's something that I do not want to deal with. Then we kill Jetty, because she is the most volatile, and Skilla, being the slowest, is kind of easy bait. Now, this is a featured mechanic. Normally, in normal runs, any of the 3 sirens can be featured. However, in Fresh File First Run, only Jetty can be featured. And so, a strategy you can do is she will always open up with a rush attack, so position yourself behind Roxy, like I did, and she will actually collide into Roxy, making them line up for a very quick phase.
Similar concept as we used to bait Skilla around and deal damage to her rapidly in Phase 1.
Alright, now it's just time to finish off Skilla herself and manage our health as needed.
So this is actually
Now you may notice we are above 30% of our health, and don't worry, we'll be working on that in a moment.
Okay, very good.
Yes. I did not forget that.
That's quite enough of them.
So, on the sides of the arena, you see 2 little tanks here. Normally, these are supposed to be stage hazards that, when exploded, creates steam. We are actually going to be using them to our advantage. After the explosion, we dash into the steam and take a lot of damage twice.
Exactly the amount of damage we mean to. I see now.
Yes.
Yeah, these are the equivalent of Erebus's trees in that they can be used to control enemies and deal damage, but in this case, they also have a secret additional use.
Yep. So now, healing up, we put ourselves at exactly 50 HP, which puts us below the air's threshold.
And now to get lost.
Yep. Now, for the Fields of Mourning. This region is unique to the rest of the game. As you saw prior, Hades 2 Underworld, which is the path we are currently taking, normally has 1 encounter per location. Fields is unique in the sense that you see 2 rewards. That's because there are actually 2 encounters in 1 location, and so a lot of the time loss actually comes in traversal. And so one of the skills you need to pick up is actually reading the room and knowing where to go, or where each reward can actually spawn in.
For those who have speedrun Hades 1, Hades 2 is actually much nicer about it. Hades 1, to speedrun that game, you have to learn every single room and how to route along that because of a difference in how enemy spawn locations work between the 2 engines.
So, grab the extra health. Those are mine rewards that can spawn around the Fields region. So if you're unsure, you can pick up some meta upgrades, you can pick up some actual in-game or like in-run upgrades. I
Yeah,
grab
the minor ones are
health.
represented by being like physically smaller or visually smaller, and they don't start the extra encounters that the major boons do. But you need all of the major boons to be able to leave each of these locations.
And of course, they're not as powerful.
Right.
All laid to rest.
So I am going
Now,
to...
casually, there are also those golden trees somewhere around these arenas that light up where all of the boons found in each room are. Is running as a speed run, even though it's like IGT based. Is that more based around knowing the relative position of the room to like the first boon you find?
Yes.
Or do you actually use these trees?
This is the golden tree that you were talking about.
Right.
This is stationed in every field's location. Unfortunately for Fresh File, this is a meta upgrade,
Should try and encounter.
and so you don't have
Okay.
it. And
I
so,
forgot about that.
Yep. And so normally in
That's more than usual.
every other encounter or most other casual playthroughs, you want to be looking for that to show you where every location is. Fresh File doesn't have that, and so you're kind of just blindly guessing. This is the vampire mini boss. As the name suggests, it's a vampire. I am going to quickly kill all of the additional enemies in the room because the vampire can actually hit those enemies and heal. This one is a very simple fight. Just be very mobile, move honestly in a circle, and since the attacks are very linear, you can just avoid them. Now, the boon I'm actually going to grab, Hydraulic Might here, is very strong in terms of actually clearing rooms. I'm actually going to be grabbing a Flood Gain here in order to lock our last core boon slot. The core boon slot, if open, every god past this one will always try to offer this gain boon, which means we have a reduced chance of finding more duos. And we don't want that. We want more duos, and so I'm going to be grabbing our Flood Gain.
Surging on.
Here we are encountering another Fresh Fowl specific mechanic for this game. Fields usually does not have a mid-shop, does not have a shop in the middle of the biome. It is replaced by something called a story room where you encounter a non-playable character which gives you some reward. Instead, because story rooms cannot exist on the first run because of some Hades biome generation rules, a shop appears instead.
So this run is actually very lucky right off the bat. King Tide Legendary is a 10% chance, I believe, or less than that.
It is 12%.
12%.
12% from regular rooms, 10% from mini bosses.
Yes. I just happened to unlock all the prerequisites for it, and so I guess we get it. Sick. So I will be taking the left room. Normally, if you are more worried, you can grab the extra health, the extra gold. I will be grabbing for more boons. More chances for getting our duo boons, which are our massive endgame builds. This is one of the field mini bosses that can actually spawn outside of the official mini boss. Do we have an official name for this? Just mini boss? I don't know.
I don't think so, no. Hippo dug up the file at some point and didn't really name it.
They're
Secret mini boss.
essentially just like an encounter that you can get that is kind of like a mini boss. It makes they're a lot tougher of enemies, but since I have the freeze effect, it is much easier to deal with. I just took a lot of free damage.
Olympus, I accept this message.
Well, when I saw the first hit, I thought to myself, oh, that's probably intentional.
Oh,
when
no.
I saw the second hit,
No.
and then you said something, I'm like, well, now I'm less sure.
There is a strategy for fields later on down the line that I will be showing if I do eventually get to it, the HP threshold. It is called Thorn Strategy. It's essentially a way to reach that 30% mark without really having to deal with the Guardian itself.
And without depleting in-game time, because reminder, this is an in-game time category.
Right.
And this feels about as good a time as any for a Dona message, as long as that. Yeah, okay, no duo boon here, so
Yes.
feel free to send a duo message here.
Or any questions,
Dona
really.
message.
Yeah, not Dono.
If I had someone else hosting with me, we'd absolutely do a duo message right now.
True.
While we're watching a run featuring Melanoe, a strong woman in speedrunning, I'd like to tell you about the Frame Fatales, a community of women and femmes who share a passion for speedrunning, gaming, and charity. In addition to their 2 flagship events, they host activities year-round in their community Discord, like Game of the Month and randomizer events. And don't forget the upcoming Frost Fatales coming up March 8th, opening with a Red Dead Redemption 2 speedrun. That'll be a lot of fun. So you can use !FF in chat to learn more and get involved.
So
FF like fresh file, you say.
Indeed.
So right off the bat,
Hi, Beach Ball and Scalding Vapor.
this is incredibly lucky Poseidon. I will be grabbing our Beach Ball. Beach Ball is the single best boon that you can grab, actually, in Fresh File. Beach Ball is the Fresh File duo boon, so this is actually perfect that I get this. So, like I said, Thorn strategy. It's essentially, there's a Thorns at the end shop or boon or whatever you get before you enter our 3rd Guardian region. You just run into this thing until you reach that 30% threshold. So you don't need to deal with the Guardian at all. So, there is no dialogue for the next Guardian, so because I can't really I don't really want to pause in the middle of it, just to explain what that next boss fight is, it is a boss fight that is, I like to categorize as kind of like a juggernaut. It is a very slow-moving boss, however, it hits like a truck. That's why most Fresh File runners prefer to drop to below that 30% threshold before the actual fight, because it is very easy to actually overshoot it. And so it's better to get yourself at 30% and do the fight without getting hit, compared to risking everything. If you're familiar, this is Cerberus!
I was just going to say this is someone you may recognize or may remember from Hades 1, even if you don't recognize them.
And so the strategy...
Don't worry, we're just doing a little bit of descaling right now. Cerberus needs a good clean.
Exactly. So the strategy for Cerberus fight is, like I said, it is a very slow boss, and so you just need to be very patient with it. The more patient you are, the easier the fight will be, because the best way to lose this fight is to try to rush him and get yourself caught in one of his attacks because you are locked inside of an animation.
Yeah, every AoE in this fight is larger than you think it is. And especially in the 2nd and 3rd phases here, as the patterns of the ground pop AoEs like start overlapping each other, and you basically have to remember where to move to next or where it's safe to move to, that gets very tricky casually, but extremely well done.
Yes.
In this fight, Mininet didn't even lose his Snow Queen boon in that encounter, which is a really difficult thing to do on Cerberus. There is a lot of stuff, a lot of AoEs that can randomly pop up near Melanoe and have her run into it and lose Snow Queen because of that, even if the zones do no damage.
Yep. So now entering our final region of this run. Tartarus. If you played Hades 1 before, this room should be familiar. Where is this?
This is at the exit of Tartarus to Asphodel, and Melanoe is about to drop down to the entrance of Tartarus.
Yep.
I mean, not entrance, but
yeah, Mel has to use an access chute since the main gate is blocked by Kronos.
Yep.
So whereas Zag came out through the main entrance after getting past Hades to go outside, Mel's basically going down the garbage chute to get as far down Tartarus as possible.
For what?
Just a showcase of the scenery and the amazing art. This looks incredible.
That's a clock.
Yep. So now, Tartarus as a region is, again, very unique. Unlike every other region, Tartarus, you need to clear 5 encounters. They will be marked by Roman numerals, as you can see here.
Just need a moment.
Right there. 5. Express route set. There may be branching paths depending on the room size, but you will always need to clear those 5 encounters marked by the Roman numerals in order to progress to the boss. Now, like every other encounter, this first room is set in stone, and this is known as Part C1, with a very poor reputation in the Freshfile community for being incredibly agonizing and RNG heavy. The reason is because enemies spawn in one by one, and if you've ever tried to speedrun a game before, having enemies spawn in one by one is incredibly annoying. Luckily, we got an incredibly small room, and so we were able to deal with it very quickly. So, using our beach ball, which is a very strong boon that I've realized I didn't really explain. Beach ball is essentially a duo boon that charges up behind you as you sprint, as you can see with this water orb. Letting go of sprint fires off that beach ball, which explodes like a mini nuke.
Yeah, it's a large AoE, especially for this point in the game in the meta progression, or lack thereof, and it does the equivalent of several hits of damage, so adding that to your own AoE, which has been augmented by a very carefully selected and very luckily gained series of boons that are meant to increase AoE, meant to increase survivability, like, we're sitting about as pretty as Freshfile can right now, I think.
Yes. The only difference between my current build and a build that an actual Freshfile speedrun would go for, which is more reset heavy, is instead of Blinding Rush, they would have Breaker Rush, which is Poseidon's sprint boon.
It also
Which
changes
does
up the
extra
damage rotation.
when you stop. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
It also changes the damage rotation up a tiny bit, though Mininet is currently doing the Breaker Rush combo. That is to say, sprinting into the enemy, then doing
An attack
special and then attack.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've got
attack.
Daze, which has a 20% chance to cause enemies to miss when they're dazed, as opposed to Breaker Rush, which when you stop dashing, or is it when you contact an enemy or when your dash stops?
It is when
that
you
do
contact
a
an enemy.
AoE. Okay.
Yep, it is.
You run directly into them to do damage
Yes.
and deal a little bit of knockback.
Yes. The strategy is to cast right before you hit an enemy, so the knockback actually gets prevented by the cast, because the cast roots enemies, which I
And
realized.
preferably one picks up an Aphrodite cast, which pulls in enemies, or a Demeter cast, which freezes them in place to have the knockback not matter at all, even less so than with a cast as is. In this case, that doesn't matter since Mininet does not have Poseidon Sprint.
So this is what I mean by extra chambers. I have cleared all 5 encounters that are required, marked with the Roman numerals. If you do wish to add any improvements to your build, such as in this case pomegranates, you can go for them. They'll just be extra encounters, extra rooms you need to clear. You will get the rewards, but again, you will always need to clear 5 encounters. In this case, for most Freshfile first runs, you typically want to avoid those because they're just extra time consumptions, really. So, anyone like to do math? 450 plus 125 plus 90. That is 575. Should be enough money.
Yep, by about 14.
Yep.
In the name of Hades.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow, this run is incredibly lucky. Which is, for a showcase, great. Do not expect
Yeah,
this
don't
kind
you
of
wanna
luck
see?
in your runs.
There.
We might actually be able to see a cool little Easter egg. So, Winter Harvest is Demeter's legendary, which, if there is any enemies that are afflicted by freeze, which is this status effect here, and they drop below 10% HP, they instantly die. This does affect bosses as well, which is a cool little Easter egg that we might be able to see in this run.
Please work. On my authority.
And to quote Lord Charon,
Pardon.
Should talk to Charon, actually.
Pippin. How about
This is Charon. Diving into the river of sand. And another repeat of
very
Hades
memorable
1.
location from Hades 1.
Yep.
Pray, who might you be, my girl? not often that I entertain of late. Perhaps after this house becomes a little more presentable. Though for the moment, you must pardon all the dust. We have been
Renovated.
around here.
Get up.
Something I also did notice is this chamber, for the boss fight, even though it's supposed to be a replica from Hades 1, it actually is a bit wider, I believe.
To make the fight work, yes, exactly.
Yes, right.
So that's a cool little thing I've noticed.
Only appropriate to give you the space to maneuver. You kind of need it.
For your transgressions you shall imminently die. Under chthonic doctrine, this I vow. For there is no escape from fate beneath the sky.
Ominous screen shake.
Quite a good callback to Hades 1 as well, is every time you end a run, you get something to the effect of, even when you succeed, it's can fate be escaped?
So another fun little
There is
Easter
no
egg.
escape.
Yes, another fun little
Indeed.
Easter egg that I'm going to immediately do is Kronos is the Titan of Time, and in a sort of fourth wall breaking thing, what is a way that you, the player, can stop time? Well,
Chat was mentioning this earlier, but
exactly. It is by pausing the game. And Kronos has a voice line for it.
It only stops at mine.
He used to unpause your game if you did this at some point
Yes.
in early access. It was
I
pretty
remember
funny the
that.
first time.
Yes. However, they did remove
You'd only
it
do it
for
the once, so you could
accessibility
repause
reasons.
after. But
Yes, they removed Kronos forcibly unpausing your game for accessibility reasons, but you only get the dialogue once. So, Kronos fight time! Immediately starting with the suction attack. For some reason, despite not doing any damage, it does count as a hit, which means our one-hit protection from Snow Queen does get removed. These are swipe attacks that you typically want to time. There is a boomerang attack that will always fly clockwise. So a way to avoid that one is to run in a clockwise direction. Do not move counterclockwise. You will run directly into it. This attack, you want to be hugging a wall and dashing right before he does his own dash. Which means all of the orbs that he summons will collide into the wall and not with you. His swipes, again, be patient and you should be able to time them. His dashes as well, a way to avoid them is just to wait for his sound cue or visual cue of him going for a dash and to dash perpendicularly to where he is moving. Like so. Like that. So I'm just playing this fight incredibly safely right now, killing all of the enemies that can do damage because I have a lot of damage and I'd rather not die.
And GG question mark?
Alright. That was Rush File.
Smile. Is what we would say if the fight were over. There's a phase 2, boys.
Yes. This is
as
Kronos'
it turns out,
instant kill
defeating
move.
the Titan of Time doesn't necessarily happen on your schedule.
Kronos will instantly start his phase 2 with an instant kill move. The way to avoid that is to stand in one of the Roman numeral times that doesn't flash red. This attack is very easy to avoid. He will not do anything while in this phase, so just dash into the middle of the circle and free hit. Now, this is his phase 2 of his phase 2. P2.2 as we like to call it.
Yes, his tutu, if you will.
Yes, 2-2. He will spawn these Tempi, which do not do damage to you, so they're not a threat to you. However, they do heal Kronos, which means they are still something you want to be dealing with.
And as with all the other enemies of that type, if you are on top of where they were defeated, they will make a small pocket of AoE where you get frozen in place.
Yes.
Most unwelcome.
One last insta-kill, and then we should soon see Kronos run out of lives in a moment. Not after one close call there, though.
There's the Easter egg.
And there's...
And the shatter.
That was the Shatter from Winter Harvest. And that right there is time. That was
Jeez.
Hades 2 Fresh File.
You'll get no answers from me, and no mercy either. Now die already, and I'll collect the ichor from your veins, or whatever flows through them.
What is death to the deathless? A mere nuisance. This house is mine. Once I am gone, you shall be cast away.
I expect so. And you'll
Fresh
be
Fall
waiting
is an
for the
is
throne
an
before I can return.
incredibly interesting thing concept-wise, because
what
a developer, when designing a roguelike or roguelite, as Hades 2 is, and Hades, need to first have the idea to even allow the player to beat the game on the first run. There are developers who wouldn't let the player do that or do everything in their power to prevent the player from doing that. And yet it is possible every single time.
Yes. So the speedrun.com separates Fresh File into two categories. There's the first run category and the unrestricted category. Unrestricted is an RTA timed, first run is a IGT timed. Unrestricted just means when is the first time you're able to kill crows, whether it be in your first run or if you do die in your second run, whether you clear it with a different weapon. That's just what unrestricted means. Most runners stick with first run, and so that was what I was playing here. So if I were to submit for speedrun.com, my final time would be an 18:13:27.
And that's with several extra minutes of pausing to explain mechanics and choices you made.
Yes.
Really fantastically done.
Mm-hmm.
Where can people find you if they want to watch more content or want to join you in doing what you do in running categories of Hades 2?
Mm-hmm. So I am actually very active on the Hades speedrunning Discord. And you can find me most often in the Hades 2 Fresh File channel. Otherwise, I have a YouTube where I upload a lot of my Fresh File clears. I believe it is Mininet02. You can find me there. I am currently trying to do a Fresh File win streak. Trying to reach a legendary Fresh File speedrunner from Hades 1, Nitro's win streak record of 100. That is an incredibly...
Do you want to tell the viewers what this win brought you up to?
If I were to have counted this, this would have brought my win streak up to 19 currently. I am currently uploading all of my wins to my YouTube channel, so if you do want to see more, you can find them there.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm seeing in chat that there is still a lot of time left, which is true. Don't worry not, we have a few things prepared for that.
Yes.
Okay,
so,
fantastic.
Yep. So there is that final cutscene where you do story progression. However, that's not part of the category, and therefore we quit. It's mainly for spoiler purposes. So instead, what I am going to try and do is I have some save states prepared, showcasing some other builds, if you would like. Or we can start brand new from a fresh file and see what other gods I can get.
If you want to go ahead and load up another state, we've definitely got another 10 or 15 minutes if you'd like to.
All right, let me go boot up another save state right now. And this one will be a much more priority focus on a god we did not see in this run. That will be Aphrodite. So, do we want to start from Cerberus or Kron? Let's start from Cerberus, because that fight was very, very fast.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Much faster than I normally do it. So, this build is a focus on the god that we did not see in the showcase run, that being Aphrodite. Aphrodite is very much a melee-focused god, where her 2 attack and special cores require you to be nearby enemy foes. That range for nearby is about the distance of Melanoe's attack, so if you have it on her attack on the staff, you will almost always be getting the bonus. She also has a status effect known as Weak. Weak is incredibly powerful because it essentially gives you 30% damage reduction to anyone nearby. Glamour Gain is the best gain boon you can get in Fresh File because any enemy you stand nearby gets inflicted with weak, meaning you want to be in melee range, everything in melee deals 30% less damage. It's a win-win situation. Aphrodite also has a duo boon known as Island Getaway that is incredibly powerful because, one, you take less damage from nearby foes, which is another 15% damage resistance. I believe they are multiplicative instead of additive. I am unsure of that. More importantly, boons from Aphrodite treat all foes as nearby.
All foes, that's terrific.
Yes, which means that negative side effect is removed. I am just getting a plus 145% on my attack. All enemies in the entire screen will be afflicted by weak.
Wow.
Her legendary is called Nervous Wreck. Whenever you inflict weak, also randomly inflict curses from other Olympians. Unfortunately,
So Froth, Scourge, etc.
Froth, Scorch, etc. Unfortunately, for Fresh File, this boon is actually quite weak because you're only able to inflict curses that you've already from Olympians you've already unlocked. So in casual playthroughs, you might be fishing for things like Zeus's Blitz or a freeze effect from Demeter. However, in this run, I only have Aphrodite, Poseidon, Hestia, and Apollo unlocked, which means the only curses I can inflict are Daze, which I can already inflict, Scorch, which I can already inflict, and Froth, which I can already inflict. Demeter's freeze effect, since I don't have her unlocked, is not available as an option.
So you essentially just get extra casts of things you can already do.
Exactly.
And sometimes you just don't have to do them yourself. I see.
Yep. So, in this case, I have some extra money. I'll be grabbing the pump. This upgraded backburner, which if struck from behind, it's just a backstab effect with bonus damage. This is actually global, I believe. Not global, but has a lot more effects. Or that backstab is weird in a sense, because this is looking for directional things. So a special is directional, their attack is directional, even Beach Ball is directional, which is weird considering it's a circle AoE, but I don't know. So in this case, we have a lot more HP than before. Again, the strategy is just to run face first into this pile of thorns until you reach that 30% threshold, because Cerberus, again, does hit like a truck. So.
And as you can see, in-game time is not going down in shops in Hades 2, which is why this is a time save in a speedrun.
So, if you do not get Beach Ball, or if you don't get the luck that I got during the showcase run, this is what a Cerb fight might look like. So, which is a lot more focused on the attack. Once again, you want to be playing Patient. Patient is the name of the game, because his attacks have a very wide AoE like that. If you rush things, you can get caught off guard and take a lot of damage. Otherwise, it is a very simple running back and forth kind of fight.
Yep, trying to get around Cerberus' backside, because again, we got that enhanced ability that backstab damage does plus 75, in addition to the overall damage boost that we have on all attacks from the advanced version of Aphrodite's boons.
But also, it's just the easiest way to dodge his attacks, because his circles do start from where his slam is, which means if
the hands are in front.
So if you just run behind him, this is an attack we weren't able to really see because I killed them too fast in the previous run. It's just he fires some explosion projectiles. This is a chase slam attack. Your sprint will always be able to outrun it. He will always do 8, so if you want to count, just count to 8 and chase him down. One tip I will give is whenever you are approaching Cerberus, I'm going to see if I can get him to do the attack. Always run in a zigzag pattern because of this attack here. This is a fireball attack. If you are running at him in a straight line and he does this on you, you will die very fast. So he also has some dash attacks that he can do. His chase sequences, everything essentially is very one-dimensional in terms of his attack pattern. He will always be running at you. And therefore, if you're running at him in a straight line, that is a very easy way to get hit.
Another tip that might help is to try to, in his phase 2, try to avoid having him be directly next to a wall. If he spits one of those explosion fireballs, if he shoots some of those at you and they hit the edge of the arena, then they will immediately explode.
Detonate sooner. Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I was worried about.
So if you notice when Cerberus was around like here, I was always trying to play away from the wall. So whenever he does do his projectiles, they do not instantly collide with the wall and instantly explode. I have lost maybe a dozen runs to that interaction, and they are very annoying. So, once again, back in Taurus. We'll see this time if Tart C1 is not pleasant for me in this run, because it was very pleasant during my showcase run. So let's see if that holds true again.
Central control. Just need a moment. There.
Oh, a lot worse run. Alright. First enemy spawned at 11:05. Let's see how long this takes.
You may recognize this chamber from Hades 1. It is one of those that were picked back up for Hades 2 and re-arted, however you want to say that.
Yep.
Redesigned, but clearly reminiscent of the same chamber from Hades 1. I also noticed here that we had a boon we hadn't had a chance to talk about called Perfect Image. So this is essentially the I'm really good at this game boon, which is when you haven't been hit for at least 15 seconds, you deal additional damage.
Yes. Another one, Hydraulic Might, that we talked about that I didn't pick up last run. It's essentially at the start of each encounter, you deal more damage for the first 10 seconds.
4 chambers to go.
Some history on the Apollo Sprint pick, actually, on the first boon. Mininet brought up earlier that it is not the meta pick currently, and but that wasn't always the case. At some point early in early access, right when people started to discover that Beach Ball is actually like pretty strong, in fact the strongest boon in Fresh File, the idea was at first to maximize chances of getting the boon we want, right? So one of the requirements for Beach Ball is to have either Apollo Sprint or Poseidon Sprint, as well as a core boon from the other god. So it seemed logical to pick up the Apollo Sprint that immediately appears on the first boon. However, since it is slower to do that, consistency aside, people eventually pivoted away from that.
There's also the simple fact that the Poseidon Sprint just deals a lot of damage if you are very good at it. The current world record holder, Sandwich, has a time of, I believe, 11 minutes with a Poseidon Sprint and a Beach Ball start in Erebus. It is an incredible run, and I highly suggest you check it out if you want to see how a professional with both Breaker Rush and Beach Ball manages to clear so quickly. For context, my showcase run, which I had incredible RNG on, was 18 minutes. So,
With a couple of minutes for explanation, but even if you put it at 14 or 15 minutes, that's still, yeah.
yes. So I should have grabbed the health, but
You made it here
I
Lord.
don't really care.
Yeah, this is bonus time.
Yep, this is bonus time. If I lose, oh well, it is what it is.
Won't open. How about
So, when fighting Kronos at a lot more melee range, compared to the Beach Ball launching nukes everywhere with attacks and specials, The gameplay pattern is largely the same. Just stick to him, be patient with your dash timings, and be careful on actually when you use your specials. Your specials actually have quite a bit of end lag, and so they can actually make you very vulnerable. So again, clockwise movements for the boomerang. I also like to kill these enemies, the side enemies, because they get very annoying, and I take a lot more damage than I should to them.
Yeah, they know the supplicants are a real pain in the neck, and that there are later modifiers specific to this fight that you can get in later runs of the game. And one of the options is make a lot less of these enemies appear during the fight.
So a very safe way to dealing with Kronos is, again, being very patient. The moment you see him going for an attack, just halt all activities and just wait to dash.
Keeping control over the character is, in both games, Fresh File, a really important skill to learn. Because the bosses are oftentimes designed for, first of all, the player having more damage, and in the case of Hades 1 Fresh File, the player having more dashes. For reasons I won't get into since this isn't the Hades 1 showcase.
I realized I never explained what those flags are. Essentially, they're flags that Kronos can summon. Every time they proc, they just give one free hit point. Again, just run him into a wall whenever he does his orb attack like that. Make sure the wall eats all of the orbs, not you. It's very important to do it because he can do his dash attack, so if you are not careful, the orbs can actually hit you even though you do dash away from the attack. This is an attack we've never seen before. Just stand in between some of the circles. Make sure you're not too close, because if he does his boomerang, you will get hit. So just take a couple of steps back, like this. So if he does his boomerang, it will miss. This is a clock hand.
In the gaps.
Yep. This attack.
In the.
Oh yeah, sorry, I interrupted you twice.
In the gaps between the nearest bubbles to Kronos during that bubble attack, you will always be safe from that attack. That's the most consistent way to avoid that.
Not if you're too close. I have taken damage for being too close. This attack is just don't stand in the where the clocks are flashing gold.
That was close. Mininet almost ran into a Tempest bubble, which might have killed him because of the insta-kill going off at a similar time. The insta-kill can be iframed, but it is quite tight to do.
And the Tempest bubbles, if you do get caught in them, just makes you unable to move. And that's Kronos again.
Well done. GG once more.
Yep.
I expect so.
Even if
Our family.
for you.
Yeah, I know you've done your shoutouts, but it can't be said enough that we're only going to be seeing more and more impressive Hades 2 speedrunning in the near future. Behemoth Steve will be running it at Awesome Games Done Quick 2026, and again at Frost Fatales. If you are interested in this category or other categories of Hades 2, we did shout out the Hades 2 speedrunning Discord a little bit earlier. There's a link in the chat, and maybe we can get another one placed in there in between shows. But thank you so much, Mininet and Alex, for this really fantastic showcase and being here with us to send 2025 off right.
All right.
Was a
Thank you so
pleasure.
much. Thank you so much for inviting me as well. And GDQ was great.
Thank you so much. I agree. And thank you to everyone who's supporting Games Done Quick through all of 2025 and on into 2026 with subscriptions, gift subs, and bits cheered. Those contributions help keep content like this running. If you're enjoying the stream, consider subscribing for exclusive emotes, ad-free viewing, and access to the chat during replays. You can also always support the stream by sharing the Games Done Quick channel with your friends. That's not all for our evening, but that is all for Out of the Box. Coming up next on Creature Corner, we have something really, really special for you. I'm not going to ruin it, so you just stay